Let's take another example. Suppose we have a rectangular function. Let's call it as xt, spanning over minus tau by 2 to plus tau by 2. And let's say a naught is its amplitude rectangular t upon tau. Now we are interested in finding its Fourier transform xt omega. So xt omega will be ns infinity to infinity xt e to the power minus j omega t dt. It will be minus infinity to infinity, and now since the function spans from minus tau by 2 to tau by 2 with an amplitude a naught, it will be a naught minus j omega t dt. On solving, you will get a naught upon j omega into e to the power j omega tau by 2 minus e to the power minus j omega tau by 2. Now let us define a function called, before that, let's say we rewrite the same Fourier transform you see this function is the form of the exponential form of the sinusoid. So we can write in the ready 2a naught upon omega into sine of omega tau by 2. Rewriting this as a naught into tau multiplied by sine omega tau by 2 upon omega tau by 2. So this is some special kind of function which is known as sampling function. Right? Sampling function is defined as, suppose in terms of theta, SA theta, if theta is in radian, is given as sine theta upon theta. This is known as sampling function. Then here we see theta is equal to omega tau by 2, and which graphically we can represent this function so in terms of theta, sampling function theta will be plotted as up to infinity, and symmetrically this is the plot of sampling function, and you can see here this it will have zeros at these points, and these values should be at theta is equal to n pi, and for at theta is equal to 0 its value will be 1, because sin theta upon theta, if we take limit theta tends to 0 its value will be 1. That means the sampling function as 0 will have a value of 1. This is also called the weight of the sampling function. So it will be 0 at pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, and so on. Similarly at minus pi, minus 3 pi, it is at minus 4 pi, and is an integer, minus 5 pi, and so on. And we draw the envelope of this function. This is the envelope of this function. It will go on decaying. This is known as sampling function. Similar function, this is also a form of sampling function. So for a rectangular signal, A naught, will have A naught rectangular will have a Fourier transform A naught tau into sine or that will be sampling function of omega tau by 2. Suppose if we represent the signal graphically in time domain, suppose we represent the signal is given as minus tau by 2 to tau by 2 plus tau by 2. This is the rectangular signal in time domain, and it will have a Fourier transform it will be a sampling function. Let me draw a rough notation. As you can see, this is an even function, and its height will be height is a naught times of tau. So the height, the points at which it will be 0 will be given by omega into tau by 2 equals to n pi. That is at the values 2 and pi by tau, it will have zeros. So let's say the cell will be 2 pi by tau. Next it will be 4 pi by tau. Similarly, this point will be 6 pi by tau. Similarly, we have minus 2 pi by tau, minus 4 pi by tau, minus 6 pi by tau, and so on. And at omega is equal to 0, so at omega is equal to 0, it has got a weight a naught into tau. This is our x g omega, this is xt. Now one thing to notice here is that suppose you try to increase tau. Let's say we keep on increasing the value of tau, then we can say that the rectangular function will expand outward because tau is increasing. That means the window of the rectangular function is increasing. Suppose it has increased to a new value, let's say tau dash, where tau dash is greater than tau, let's say it is tau dash with same amplitude a naught. Then what will happen? Suppose we are expanding in the time domain, expanding the rectangular signal in the time domain. What will happen? If you look at this relation, you can see omega is inversely proportional to tau. Then if tau is increasing, omega must decrease. Then tau is increasing, then this quantity 2 pi by tau must decrease. Then that means this signal will come close in frequency. That means omega will be closer or you can say the function will be closer in frequency, or in other words, this graph will try to contract because these values are coming closer, the values of omega are shrinking. We can once again, if you try to plot it, in the time domain, we have a much wider rectangular function, minus tau dash by 2 plus tau dash by 2. Then in that case we have a Fourier transform whose graph will be you can see it is a more wide graph is wider, but since tau is increasing, the frequency will come closer to each other. And one thing more, this amplitude is a naught tau. Since tau is increasing, then a naught tau will go on increasing. That means it will try to increase in amplitude but it will try to shrink towards the origin. Now it will have a not tau. You can see expansion in time domain, but there is a contraction in the frequency domain. This is xt omega and this is xt. Now just imagine a situation. Suppose we take a limit tau tends to infinity. We take the rectangular signal to infinity. We expand the rectangular signal to infinity. In that case, now it will no longer be a windowed rectangular signal. Now it will become a constant DC signal. Once we have taken the limit tau tends to infinity, then the signal will no longer be a rectangular function. It will convert to a DC signal. Because we have shifted tau to infinity with same amplitude A0 xt. Now it has become a DC signal. Now we can observe here is that once it has now tau tends to infinity, this amplitude will also tend towards infinity. It will become a very large value, plus this whole frequency domain will shrink towards origin. And of course the amplitude at origin A0 tau will also tend towards infinity. Then you can think that for a DC signal, its Fourier transform is an impulse function. Now we can think about taking we can imagine a sampling function under the limit tau tends to infinity, making the rectangular signal as a DC signal. Then its corresponding sampling function in frequency domain becomes a delta function. Let's say k is some constant, k times of del omega. This is xt omega. So what we saw, that a sampling function taking limit tau tends to infinity becomes a delta function, where k is the weight of the signal in the frequency domain. Weight of del omega. Very important conclusion. Finally we can say that a DC signal has a Fourier transform which is a delta function. We can validate this mathematically. For example, applying, let's say we have a function, a delta function in the frequency domain, 2 pi a naught del omega, where a naught is a constant and we have taken 2 pi for certain reasons. Then let's find its inverse Fourier transform. What will be its inverse Fourier transform? So the inverse Fourier transform xt will be given by 1 by 2 pi minus infinity to infinity x omega e to the power j omega t into d omega. Now its value is 1 upon 2 pi minus infinity to infinity. Its value is 2 pi a naught del omega to e to the power j omega t into d omega. Now we can cancel out 2 pi into pi. That is the purpose that we have taken 2 pi here, just to cancel out the 2 pi term in the denominator of the inverse Fourier transform. Now applying the time shifting property of impulse function, you know that for any impulse function delayed by t naught multiplied to any signal, then value of this integral will be xt naught. We have already studied this. In that case, xt will be simply a naught, because this is del omega minus omega naught. Omega and omega naught is 0 only. If you look at here, this 0 will go to this exponential signal applying this formula. Then answer will be simply a naught. Hence we can say that a naught is nothing but the constant DC signal. Hence we can say for any DC signal whose magnitude is a naught, its Fourier transform is 2 pi a naught del omega. Now there are certain conditions, just like that we had studied Dirichlet conditions in the Fourier series representation. For the condition of existence of Fourier series representation, same here we have got conditions for existence of Fourier transform, and these conditions are Dirichlet conditions. We have to keep in mind that the Fourier transform is a consequence of Fourier series in representation only, taking the or viewing a periodic signal as an aperiodic signal of infinite period. Then there is set of three conditions which are known as the Dirichlet conditions. First is any aperiodic signal xt must be absolutely integrable. That means over the whole time domain, the absolute value of the absolute integration of xt must be finite. And second point, xt must have finite number of maxima and minima within any time interval. Within any interval of time. Similarly, third case, xt must have finite number of discontinuities within any interval of time. These are the set of Dirichlet conditions. Let us try to find the Fourier transform of certain signals. Let's take an example of signum function and unit step. Very important. So take first example of signum function. So look at here. If we draw this signal, it's plus 1, it's minus 1. Signum function. Now let's find out its Fourier transform. Let's say xt equals to signum function of t. Then xt omega will be minus infinity to infinity xt to the power minus j omega t dt. So its value is minus 1 from minus infinity to 0. Can simply write minus j omega t dt plus for 0 to infinity, its value will be plus 1 as we see here. this function does not converge, and or we can say we cannot find its integration. It is not integrable. You can also observe here, if we look at the Dirichlet first condition, the xt must be absolutely integrable. Or you can see here, the signal function does not follow the first Dirichlet condition. Suppose if you take the magnitude of signal function, and if you integrate over the whole time domain, it will tend towards infinity. It is not following the Dirichlet condition. That is why we cannot find its Fourier transform. This is the case still now. But suppose we approximate the signal function by some parameters, so that it starts following the Dirichlet condition. In that case, we can find the Fourier transform. Suppose, let's say, once again, we represent the signal function in another way. Let's say xt is equal to signal function of t multiplied by an exponential e to the power alpha into mod of t, where alpha, let's say alpha is greater than 0, alpha is certain parameters. Now as you can see, this parameter e to this function multiplied by the signum t, it is absolutely integrable if you find its integration. That means if you find the integration mod of e to the power minus alpha t mod of t, its absolute integration is finite. This will cause this signal function to become finite. What we are doing, we are approximating the signal function so that it follows the Dirichlet conditions. Suppose we take the limit alpha tends to 0, then once again we will get an original signal function. But right now we are interested in finding the Fourier transform of the signal function. That is why we are approximating this signal function so that it follows the Dirichlet conditions. Now if you take the integration, find the inverse, the Fourier transform, it will be minus infinity to infinity xt e to the power minus j omega t dt. So it will be now minus infinity to 0, its value will be minus 1 into e to the power alpha, since that is mod of t for t, this is mod of t for t less than 0, it will be, its value will be minus t, then here we can write plus alpha t multiplied by e to the power minus j omega t dt plus 0 to infinity e to the power 9, it will be minus alpha t, and the value for t greater than 0, the value of signal function is plus 1 into e to the power minus j omega t dt. Now we can easily do its integration. It will be simply minus 1 upon alpha minus j omega plus 1 upon alpha plus j omega if you take the integration. So after approximating the signal function so that it follows the Dirichlet conditions, we can find its Fourier transform. Now let us apply the limit. Then if we take limit alpha tends to 0, then we will obtain the Fourier transform as 2 upon j omega. Hence we can see a signum function has a Fourier transform of 2 upon j omega. Take another case. Case P we have taken for the unit step function. So graphically it will be this is, let's say this is plus 1 ut. Now once again we can see it does not follow the Dirichlet conditions. We take the integration minus, since this is a right-handed system, 0 to infinity, mod of ut dt, it will tend towards infinity because ut will be integrated infinitely to infinity. This also does not converge. But in the previous example of signum function, we had calculated the Fourier transform of the signum function, even though it was not following Dirichlet conditions. And we can represent the unit function in terms of signum function as 1 plus s chain of t, the signum function by 2. You can validate this graphically by applying the shifting and scaling properties. Then ut is given by 1 by 2 plus signum of t by 2. Now you can see u2 is a combination of two signals. One is the DC signal and second is the half times of the signum function. So now we know that for any DC function A0 DC signal, it has got a Fourier transform of 2 pi A0 del omega. Now putting A0 equals to 1 by 2, we can write then 1 by 2, its Fourier transform will be pi times of del omega. Putting A0 is equal to 1 by 2. Just now we got the signum t. It has a Fourier transform of 2 upon j omega. So 1 by 2, let's call it as equation number 1. This Fourier transform will be 1 upon j omega. Now applying the property of linearity, as we know, the Fourier series representation is based on the concept of linearity. Likewise, the Fourier transform also follows the principle or the property of linearity. Using, or you can say, invoking linearity property, so let's say this is equation number 2. Then adding these two equations, we can simply write ut equals to half plus half S signum of t will have a Fourier transform which will be given by pi del omega plus 1 by j omega. Pi del omega plus 1 by j omega. This is the overall we can write qt as a Fourier transform pi del omega plus 1 by j omega. So with these two examples, we demonstrated that although the signal might not be might not have a Fourier transform, since that does not follow the Dirichlet conditions, but since these are very important signals, we try to approximate or try to find out the Fourier transform of these signals by approximating the same functions, the same that what we did in the case of signum function. Now another concept to deal here is, now we saw that Fourier transform can be, or you can say any aperiodic signal can have a Fourier transform, but since we know that the Fourier transform is derived from the Fourier series representation only, and Fourier series representation is applicable for periodic signals, then Fourier transform can also be found for periodic signals as well. So we can write a heading here: Fourier transform of periodic signals. Now, let's say for any signal, periodic signal xt, its Fourier transform will be minus infinity to infinity xt e to the power minus j omega t dt. Let's say xt is a periodic signal with fundamental frequency and time period as omega naught t naught, then its Fourier transform. Now since xt is a periodic signal, we can represent this signal in terms of Fourier series representation. Since this is a periodic signal, we can write Cn e to the power j n omega naught t multiplied by e to the power minus j omega t dt and equals to minus infinity to infinity. Now taking this summation outside, we can write summation n equals to minus infinity to infinity Cn e to the power minus j omega minus n omega naught t into dt. Now resolving this summation, we can write integration will come inside minus infinity to infinity c naught e to the power minus j omega t dt plus minus infinity to infinity c1 e to the power minus j omega minus omega naught into d dt. Similarly, c minus infinity to infinity c2 e to the power minus j omega minus 2 omega naught t into dt, and so on. Let's generalize it for the nth harmonic as Cn into e to the power minus j omega minus n omega naught t into dt for the nth harmonic. So this will be the Fourier transform for periodic signals. Now, as we know that for any DC signal or any constant signal, it will have a Fourier transform of 2 pi a naught del omega. Now we see that the C0, C1, C2, Cn, these are numeric values or constant values or constants, the Fourier series coefficients. Then we can write, then if instead of writing a naught, let's say C0 equals, will have a Fourier transform of 2 pi C0 into del omega. Similarly, C1 will have a Fourier transform 2 pi C1 into del omega, and so on. Cn will have a Fourier transform of 2 pi Cn into del omega. Now we have, it's not just Cn, we have C0 multiplied by an exponential. What we see is that applying a frequency shifting property of Fourier transform, that we will discuss when we while discussion, we will discuss in the next lectures on the discussion on the properties of Fourier transform. There is one such property called the frequency shifting property. What does this property states that? Suppose the same, let's take a general Fourier series coefficient Cn, if it is multiplied by an exponential j, let's say n omega naught t, then before that, let's see the general formula. Suppose any function xt is multiplied by a complex exponential j omega naught t, then the corresponding, there will be a corresponding shift in the frequency. Suppose this is plus, then the shift will be minus, and suppose this is minus, the shift will be left hand side. This is the frequency shifting property. Now for the Cn signal, for the Cn constant, we have this Fourier transform. So once we apply it, multiply the signal in the time domain with a complex exponential, there will be a shift in the frequency domain given by 2 pi Cn del omega minus n omega naught. Similar will be the case of C0, C1, C2, C3. In general, we can write for any nth harmonic, there will be a shift in frequency by applying the frequency shifting property of the Fourier transform. So if we look into this integral, integration minus infinity to infinity Cn e to the power minus j omega minus n omega naught t into dt, it can be written as minus infinity to infinity Cn into e to the power j n omega naught t multiplied by e to the power minus j omega t dt. Now this is nothing but the Fourier transform of Cn into e to the power j n omega naught t. So we can simply write it here as 2 pi times of Cn into del applying this omega minus n omega naught. And since there are infinite number of harmonics, C0, C1, C2, we can straight write the Fourier transform x j omega as the total summation 2 pi times of n equals to minus infinity to infinity Cn times of del omega minus n omega naught. This is the Fourier transform for periodic signals. Let us take an example. Suppose any function xt equals to the simplest form sin omega naught t. This is the periodic signal. Writing this function exponentially, we can write e to the power j omega naught t minus e to the power minus j omega naught t by 2j. Then it has got frequency components. One is plus omega naught and the other one is minus omega naught. Then we can write C1 as 1 by 2j and C2, you can see the coefficients, minus 1 by 2j. Then applying the concept of frequency Fourier transform for periodic signals, we can write here as 2 pi times of summation Cn del omega minus omega naught n omega naught. There is bit lag in the system. Please bear with me. So now it has got only, this will be C minus 1, 2 frequency component plus 1 and minus 1. So xj omega will be 2 pi times of C1 del omega minus omega naught plus C minus 1 times of del omega plus omega naught. Minus minus will be plus, and C1 xj omega will be 2 pi times of C1 is 1 by 2j del omega minus omega naught, and C minus 1 has a value minus 1 by 2j del omega plus omega naught. So finally we can write the Fourier transform xj omega for a sinusoid will be pi by j times of del omega minus omega naught minus del omega plus omega naught. This is the Fourier transform for a sinusoidal signal.